So on behalf of Heritage Frederick, we are thrilled to talk about holiday traditions in Frederick, but also around the world. And so I'm pleased to talk today with Yewande Oladeinde, and she is the president of the Nigerians of Frederick Association. And I think she told me she was been president for the past 18 months. So Yewande, thank you for sharing with our audience and with Heritage Frederick something about not only your culture, but also the holiday traditions. So thank you for being our guest.
Thank you for having me.
So for just maybe a little bit of background, let's talk about, how long you spent in Nigeria. How, I know you were born and raised in Nigeria, but how long you spent in Nigeria, what brought you to the United States, and, what brought you to Frederick specifically?
So I've been in the United States since 2003. I had to think about that. And what brought me here was college. So I was born and raised in Nigeria, but my parents wanted my siblings and I to have college education outside of Nigeria. So the US was one of the places that we considered. Actually, it was the only place that was considered. And that's because my mom has family members that live in the US. So the only place she could think of was, okay, go to the US. And we took the exams, the entrance exams, and we also applied to universities. And I attended East Stroudsburg University of Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
This is in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, popularly referred to as the Poconos, because my uncle lived there. My mom's younger brother lived there. So that's the only reason I went there. So yeah, that's really what brought me to the US.
Yeah, that's kind of, in the middle of a lot of wooded areas.
Yeah.
So it's in the middle of nowhere a little bit as well. And I know that you've continued your studies in collegiate background. You have a PhD. Talk about your what your PhD is in and how it comes to fruition, or how do you put it to practice?
So like I said, I attended East Stroudsburg University for my undergraduate studies. And once I was done at East Stroudsburg, I worked for 1 year as a research assistant at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. I like to call myself, I was a lab rat. So I was working in the labs, and I was also doing a bunch of things in the labs. After that, I took the graduate exam, entrance exam, and applied to Penn State University in State College, Pennsylvania. And the main attraction for me was because I knew a couple of, about 2 people who attended Penn State and who specifically were in the program that I applied to. And also the head of department at the time was a Nigerian. So that attracted me to the school, apart from the fact that it was something I was interested in. The program of study was something I was interested in. And my PhD is in biobehavioral health. And the way I like to describe it is it's an intersection between public health and the social sciences. And my area of focus specifically was addressing the role of culture in people's health and behavior. So how do people's cultural experiences, how does that affect their health, and how does that affect the behaviors that they exhibit? So that's really what my PhD was about. And what was very exciting for me was that I got to travel to South Africa. I conducted some research in South Africa. And also for my dissertation studies, I went back home to Nigeria to conduct my research on the childbearing decision-making of women living with HIV and AIDS. So for me, it was kind of full circle. Like I was learning stuff in the Western world, so to speak, and I was able to take that knowledge back home to Nigeria to conduct my research and write papers on it. So that for me was very fulfilling.
Indeed, and talk a little bit about the association and what you practice, or what you not practice, but what you do as an organization, and what the purpose of the organization might be for those that aren't familiar.
So the Nigerians in Frederick Association, we've been in existence for a little over 10 years. And the way the organization was actually formed was a bunch of Nigerians who were new to the area decided that, you know what, we want to come together, we want to have fun, we want to do things, especially because we are raising kids, we are giving birth to kids here, and we do not want them to forget about their Nigerian heritage. So it was a bunch of, I think about 2 or 3 Nigerian families at the time in Frederick came together and said, hey, let's do something. And that was how it started. It started as a social organization. They would meet in people's houses, and the organization was formed as a result of that. As more people moved into Frederick, the Nigerian population grew, and the organization obviously became bigger as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to change things a bit. So even though we still have the social aspect, we had to have like a mission and vision and come up with, make it a formal organization. We're 501c3, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So we had to formalize things. And I will say that the 3 things we focus on: culture, community, and connection. When I say culture, we want to make sure that even though we're here in the US, we're not forgetting about our Nigerian cultural heritage, and we're passing that on to our kids. Community, we want to give back to our host community here in Frederick and also in Nigeria. Connection, so that's the social aspect. We still want to stay connected. So I think those are the 3 main, when I describe the organization, those are the 3 things that define us: culture, community, and connection. And some of the ways we've given back to the community: we've volunteered at the Frederick Rescue Mission. We've also donated some money to Frederick County Public Schools. So we donated money to 2 schools within the Frederick County Public School system: Yellow Springs Elementary and Waverly Elementary School. So when we had the Independence Day event, we collected, well, we didn't collect. When we had the Independence Day event, we had an auction. So the children of our members did different artwork. So they painted on canvases, they did like different artwork. And that was organized and directed by Yemi Fagbun. So Yemi Fagbun is an artist in Frederick.
Of course, I know Yemi, and a lot of people know Yemi.
Exactly. So Yemi is Nigerian, or is of Nigerian descent. So he helped us, coordinate that and organize that. And we had the art auction, and some of the proceeds we donated to Frederick County Public Schools. And it's something that we want to keep on doing every year. However much we get, we want to donate, give back to the school system. So that's one of the ways we kind of give back to our community, apart from volunteering.
I know since culture is one of those 3 pillars, you and I were talking, I had a chance to go to Nigeria for 3.5 weeks through Rotary International's Group Study Exchange Program. And so I know a little bit about how rich the Nigerian culture is. It's, music and so much more that I can think of. Talk about, some of the holidays that you celebrate around this time of year, back when you were growing up and in your home country.
So around this time, so November, December, it's mostly Christmas, the Christmas holiday, because usually the Muslim holidays don't occur around this time. So Ramadan is the Islamic holiday. So the Ramadan fasting begins and ends around this time. But I'm a Christian, and I think Christmas is, even I would say, regardless of your religious beliefs, right? Around this time period, they call it Igba Odun, meaning a time of celebration. I'm from the Yoruba ethnic group, so that what I just said means a time of celebration in Nigeria. In Yoruba.
Yes.
So, and regardless of your religious beliefs, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, you are a traditional religious practitioner, everybody just knew it was a time for festivities, it was a time for merriment, and people would do things around that time period. So you would come together. It was usually a time for family and friends to come together to celebrate with food, drinks, dancing. Parties were thrown. Sometimes you don't even need to know who's celebrating a party. Like, you're like, okay, there's a party going on, let's go over there, and they'll feed you. Because most people are generous around this this season, this holiday season. So they'll feed you whether they know you or not. Hey, just come in, sit down, blend
Mm-hmm.
with the crowd, and eat. And for those of us who live in cities, like I lived in Lagos, I was born and grew up in Lagos, but my hometown is in Ogun State, in Abeokuta. So we'll travel back home. You travel back to the village because it's also a time for families to reunite. So people, your cousins that you haven't seen in a long time, like everyone is coming back home, like to the hometown to because your grandparents are usually living, in the village, back home in your hometown. So it's a time for families to come together, to celebrate, to be thankful for, seeing the end of the year or getting to the end of the year and starting a new year. And it was just always, what I remember most is always a time of merriment. Like you eat, overeat,
Yes.
dance.
I think that's across cultures as well, right?
Right, right. And you would always get a new outfit. So growing up for us is like, you get your Christmas outfit. So on Christmas Day, or even around the holidays in general, you're guaranteed almost to have a new outfit, new shoes, new dresses, because everyone wants to make sure that their kid is looking good when you go back home to the village for that family reunion. Like you want to be in your Sunday best. So that's what I remember about that. And also, like I said, like if you're a Christian, for example, and you celebrate Christmas, on Christmas Day, you go to church in the mornings, in your nice outfit, you go to church. And then when you get back home, you have food, like feasting the entire day.
Yeah, and I think that idea of a homecoming is a great idea and something that, again, many cultures do. It's a time of coming together. It's a time for reflection. It's a time for, food, as you mentioned. In terms of, maybe some of the traditions of Christmas here in the U.S. Is there a gift exchanging or waking up with gifts, or how is that different maybe from or how is it the same in terms of Nigerian culture?
I'm glad that you brought that up because that was one thing that I forgot to talk about. So it's very different. I remember growing up, we would decorate the house, we'd have like Christmas decorations out and we'll just decorate inside of the house. But we really did not have like any gifts wrapped on that Christmas tree or anything like that. That's not the norm in Nigeria. Like most people, that does not that's not a way to celebrate Christmas for us. Now with, Western influences, obviously, most people are now doing that where they have a Christmas tree, they wrap gifts under the Christmas tree for their kids. But exchanging gifts was not something that was really done. It's not really done. As part of the Christmas tradition. When I came here, my first Christmas in the US, I was very, very shocked because I was with my uncle's family in Strasbourg, and my uncle is married to an African American woman. So she had like gifts wrapped, and she had been shopping since, I believe, since Thanksgiving. And I'm like, why are you shopping? Who are you shopping for? And she had, all those gifts, and then she would sneak them through the garage and hide the gifts. And I'm like, it was very, very strange to me. But obviously that's the culture here. But I can tell you that, for us, it was just a case of you knew you were going to get a new outfit, new shoes, and that was about it. And another thing that I forgot to mention is our parents usually will take us to Father Christmas, is what we call Santa Claus, Father Christmas. Because usually Santa Claus, he's always a man in Nigeria, he's dressed up, and we'll call him Father Christmas. So you go to you will go to Father Christmas. And when I was growing up, we did not have malls. So Father Christmas would usually be maybe in school or at the market, but there was a place carved out. So we'll go to Father Christmas, and then the news channels. I remember growing up, it was called NTA. I forget what NTA stands for. It's an acronym. But anyway, it was a news network in Nigeria, and they would come to the Father Christmas stand, taking your pictures and say, hey, do you want to say hi to somebody from home or whatever? And you go there and say, hi, my name is this. I would like to wish my mom and my daddy a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And you say everything you want to say, everything on your mind. But that was always very fun because you just never know if you would be on the evening news that day, just because you had that, shout out to your family members when you went to visit Father Christmas. And Father Christmas gave us gifts, obviously.
That was Yewande, that was actually one of my next questions, because so I'm so glad you went into that. I love learning about that father figure, across, in fact, my wife and I, our Christmas tree has multiple, Santas, if you will, whether it's Father Christmas or another, St. Nicholas or whatever custom and culture, might present the name or the likeness of that person. I'm so glad you mentioned Father Christmas being that symbol, if you will, in Nigeria. And what are, I know that English is the official language of Nigeria, because I know there are a number of tribes and tribal languages, and so that's how they kind of settled on how to be able to communicate across the country. What are some other, maybe in your a native language, what are some other kind of key themes or principles that carried through Christmas?
So I think so I talked about the generosity, right? Most people are always very generous around the season, the holiday season. So one thing I know that growing up that we would do is either when we go back to my hometown or when with my parents in Lagos, we would my mom would say we're going to give to the needy. So usually there's a place in it's a part of Lagos. It's called Ebutemeta, and usually they had like some beggars on the streets. And then I think right now that has changed. So my mom would say, okay, we're going to she would cook like a huge pot of jollof rice, and with some meat, some beef, chicken, and whatnot, and we'll package it into bowls like little takeaway packs, and take them to Ebutemeta, and we would hand it out to those on the street, the beggars on the street. So that's one thing that I do remember we would always do. We would participate in every Christmas. And I didn't understand the meaning of what she was doing at the time. I was a kid, obviously, but then she would say, "Oh, we've been blessed, and we should. This season is a time of reflection for us to reflect on how blessed we are. God has been gracious to us. He has provided for us. It's a time for us to also pause and give back, pay it forward to those who do not have." And that's one thing I remember that we did growing up. But that's not to say that every Nigerian household did that.
Right.
But I do know for a fact that most Nigerian households around the Christmas period or the holiday season, they're always very generous. So however you want to display your generosity and your benevolence to others, I know that's a theme that cuts across almost all Nigerian families.
And I know, lastly, you already mentioned food, and so are there traditional foods served either on Christmas Day or leading up to Christmas Day? Talk about some of the Nigerian cuisine that might be part of the festivities.
Oh yeah, so we had the standard foods that you just had to have on Christmas Day or around the holidays in general. Jollof rice was one. You cannot have a Nigerian celebration without jollof rice. And jollof rice is just rice that's cooked in tomato sauce. And different parts of Africa have jollof rice. So Senegalese, they have their own version of jollof rice. Ghanaians have their own version, but Nigerians, we also have our own version of jollof rice. But you cannot have a Nigerian party without jollof rice. You must have jollof rice. So jollof rice and chicken, and then also fufu. So, well, people call fufu different things, but you also had to have pounded yam. So pounded yam is, and the yams we use in Nigeria, they're quite different from the yams here in the
They
US.
are. Yes, they are. I remember
So
that.
I'm trying to even, I can't even think of the name. I don't even know how to call it. But anyway, pounded yam, which is yam that's pounded and rolled into like a paste or a ball. And you usually would eat that with vegetables, some kind of spinach with egusi soup. So that's standard. You just have to have those two foods, and of course different drinks. So you had sodas, different types of sodas. We call soda in Nigeria, we call it soft drinks. That's what we call them. So like your Coca-Cola, your Sprite, we call them soft drinks. And then some people also call them, we also call them minerals, like the minerals.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So so you had to have some kind of drinks, your sodas, you had to have jollof rice, and you had to have your pounded yam at least, at a minimum. If not, you're not having a party. And then of course music as well was a huge part of that. So you have food, drinks, and then music. And then the types of music, I remember growing up, it was like King Sunny Ade, Shina Peters, like those are the standard party music. But now it's just a whole wide variety that's out
Mm.
there.
Well, you're making me hungry. You're making me remember and my trip over there and some of the foods that I had. So, Yewande, thank you very much for sharing a little bit of your history and culture, Nigerian culture and traditions with us during this holiday season. And we look forward to being able to open up the We the People exhibit that showcases this even outside the holiday tradition as well. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Bye bye.